Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a really good tip for you regarding swim jigs. The swim jig is one of my absolute favorite ways to fish. It is something that I have done for a long time and I've won a lot of money on it. I've probably won more tournaments at the local level on a swim jig than anything else. I mean, it's a bait I rely on extremely heavily. It's extremely versatile. Rivers, lakes, dark water, clear water, weeds, wood, pads, rock, anything. You can fish a swim jig anywhere. And some of my best tournaments at the professional level have been on swim jigs, and it's been fishing for suspended fish. It doesn't even have to do with what you traditionally think of a swim jig structure wise. So what I want to talk about today is the Alabama shake. That's a specific tactic to keep your bait elevated high in the water column and to basically just try to keep it floating pretty much as close to the surface as possible. It's a technique that came out of Alabama, and that's how they fish swim jigs down there, but it's become so popular that it's probably the most popular way to fish a swim jig throughout the country right now. And all it has to do is, you take your swim jig, you throw it out, and you just pop your rod to keep it going. I'll show you how to do that. So you just take it, fire it out. You want to keep your rod tip pointed, up high, and you're literally kind of just reeling, you're slacking while you're popping your rod tip, and that keeps the bait, fluttering right below the surface and high up. So you throw it out towards the cover or whatever you're fishing, and you're just constantly popping it as you're retrieving it back to the boat. Really simple way to fish a swim jig, but it takes some learning, and more than anything, the swim jig is what matters most. So what I want to tell you about is the setup as a whole. So this is just the dirty jigs, standard swim jig, the regular size. I do not trim any of the material off of it. I leave the skirt as a whole. And I do that because everything that this bait is going to be geared towards is keeping the bait elevated in the water column. So the bigger the skirt, the bulkier it is, and it doesn't sink as fast. And when you pop it, the skirt just undulates and flares, which is great for generating strikes. You want to choose a swim jig that's on the lighter side. So the swim jigs that I'm throwing are going to be 1/4 ounce, 5/16 ounce, and sometimes up to a 3/8 ounce. It has to do with the cover that I'm fishing. So if I'm fishing around some thicker weed and I want my bait to get through the weed, I might go with something a little bit heavier like a 3/8 ounce, but generally I'm sticking with a 1/4 ounce or a 5/16 ounce swim jig. The next biggest key to this is to throw a trailer that's got a big wide flat bottom, and that's one reason that this Berkley Max Scent meaty chunk is become so popular. It's got a big flat bottom, big flat kickers, and you rig it on your swim jig horizontal. And what that does is when you're bringing that through the water is pushing the bait up. It helps keep the bait higher. If you had a bait with a keel, more of like a single boot tail, that trailer would not help elevate the bait, and the bait would fall down. Just had a sturgeon jump behind me. So the trailer's like the biggest factor to all of this. So regardless of what trailer you choose, you want to choose a trailer that's got a nice wide flat body to it, and that will, when you hook it, you want to make sure that body is horizontal to the water, so that when you're retrieving it, the trailer is actually helping to propel the bait higher up. So there was another one. So that's the key to the bait. From a line standpoint, you're going to want to use either braid, which floats, or a fluorocarbon, which is fine, because you just don't want to give a lot of slack in between twitches, because the fluorocarbon will fluorocarbon sinks, so that's going to want to pull the bait down. If you are fishing your bait in a straight Alabama shake style, fluorocarbon's fine, but if you're kind of doing it stop and go, you'll find that the fluorocarbon wants to bring the bait lower, which makes it harder to shake it in those areas where you want to do the Alabama shake. But braid is really good too. I generally prefer to go with fluorocarbon just because I think I get more bites on the fluorocarbon. But if I'm fishing heavier cover or really thick weed, then I definitely will go to the braided material. With respect to your rod and reel, you're gonna want a little bit of a longer rod. This is a 7.3 HMMB 873. So it's a 7.3 medium heavy action rod. It's got a soft tip still. Let's see if you can see it. I mean, it's still got a nice soft tip on it, but it's got really good backbone. And that allows me to continuously shaking it, you know, up high, but it's got the soft tip, which allows the fish to engulf the bait entirely. And that's one thing, you know, if you're shaking it consistently up top, most of the bites are visual. And if you're throwing braid and you're throwing an extra fast action rod, you're gonna end up setting the hook and ripping the bait out of the fish's mouth a lot of the time. So you want something that's got a little bit of a softer tip that will absorb the quickness in your hook set, because you're gonna see the strikes, they're visual. So that's what it comes down to, you know, from a rod and reel standpoint. With respect to the reel, this is a Revo Premier. This is a 7-to-3-to-1, I believe. So it's a fast reel. It's not super fast, but you want something faster than slower, because you're going to be popping the rod and you want to pick up that line and be able to keep up with it, especially when the fish bites. So a 7-to-3 is kind of what I prefer. 7-to-3 or an 8. But I don't like the super fast stuff either, because the goal to doing this is to keep your bait suspended high up and in the strike zone as long as possible. So when you throw it out there, you're popping it, but you don't want to be reeling it to you. You're kind of more just picking up the slack that your rod's pulling as it's popping the bait up. If you go with a super fast reel, you end up pulling the bait more than allowing it to suspend. So you just, you know, want to be aware of that. You really want to work this bait with your rod tip, and the reel is just meant to pick up the slack. It's not meant to reel the bait towards you. And that's the equipment setup. But really the key to the whole Alabama shake is choosing a lighter swim jig and a trailer that will allow the bait to be kept higher up in the water column. So that's the thing, guys. If you're throwing a swim jig, head out to the lake, try the Alabama shake. I've got a little bit of footage. I'll show what it looks like in the water, but it's really a simple thing to do, and it's become extremely popular because it's catching a ton of fish, and it works year round too. You know, I think originally when they started it, it was more of a shad spawn deal, like throw it up into the cover, pop, 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 and you want to make it look like a shad. You know, in this case, I've got a white one rigged up for you guys just to make it look better in the water. But I really like doing this with bluegill colored swim jigs and black and blue colored swim jigs. I just think it's a really good way to generate bites, because you've got a bait that's popping and looks, you know, really erratic, but it's staying in the strike zone. It's not moving quickly, and it's not something that the fish see a lot of. You know, it's almost like if you were walking the dog with a topwater bait, you're almost doing that right under the surface. So it's something that's a little bit different. It drives the fish crazy because they have it in the strike zone for a long period of time, and it's erratic motion, which makes them want to come and eat it. So guys, get yourself some swim jigs, head out to your favorite body of water, try the Alabama shake. It works great. If you're looking to pick up swim jigs, go to my description, the reelshot.com link, hit that. They've got a ton of dirty jig swim jigs and a bunch of great colors. You know, pick yourself up your favorite trailers, throw it on, catch yourself some fish, guys. It's a fun technique to do too. It's just fun to keep it there, and because it's visual, it'll hook you on it. So thanks for watching. Tips and tricks coming out every day. Hit that like button, share it on social media, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thanks, guys.